Have you ever wondered what would happen if a country just got everything right? What if America, right from the very beginning, had been nearly perfect? Well, today we're going to dive into a pretty wild thought experiment, an alternate timeline where the United States avoids all its biggest tragedies and becomes, well, a global utopia. Let's see how that could have happened.
And that's really the core question here, isn't it? We're going to explore how one tiny little domino falling just a bit differently could kick off a massive chain reaction, building a superpower unlike anything the world has ever seen.
You know, to really appreciate just how different this utopian timeline is, we kind of have to remember our own history. Our timeline is marked by these brutal conflicts, devastating economic collapses, and some really deep social divisions. These are the historical scars that, in our alternate world, America just completely sidesteps. So where does a perfect timeline like this even begin? Well, it all boils down to one single decision, made way back in the earliest days of the American Revolution, that completely rewrites the map and the destiny of the entire continent.
And here it is, the one tiny change. In our history, American privateers went and attacked ships from Nova Scotia, which, you can imagine, really alienated a potential friend. But in this history, those attacks never happen. Feeling safe and seeing which way the wind was blowing, Nova Scotia joins the rebellion. It becomes the crucial 14th colony, even adding a 14th stripe to the flag.
And the impact is immediate. Fast forward to the War of 1812. Having Nova Scotia basically lets the U.S. put a stranglehold on Canada's main supply route, the St. Lawrence River. Meanwhile, Britain is totally distracted trying to deal with Napoleon back in Europe. The war is over quick, and it's a huge American victory. The result? Britain just hands over all its land in continental North America. Poof. Canada is now part of the United States.
So this incredible early win, it just changes everything. The United States is no longer just some republic on the coast. It's on track to become a continental empire. And believe me, its appetite for expansion is just getting started.
If you're the kind of person who loves exploring impossible futures and hidden truths, subscribe. This channel is built...
I mean, when you put them side by side, the difference is just staggering. On the left, you see the way things actually happened for us. Kind of slow, piecemeal expansion. But on the right, this alternate America goes on an absolute shopping spree, buying or conquering a massive chunk of the Western Hemisphere.
So all this expansion creates a country that's just massive in scope. We're talking about a single, unified nation stretching from the frozen Arctic lands of what was Canada, all the way down to the tropical beaches of the Caribbean and the deserts of Mexico. And just to put a number on it for you, the total land area swells to 9.4 million square miles. We're not just talking about a big country here. We're talking about, by a long shot, the largest single nation on the planet, period.
But, a bigger country isn't just about having more land. It means you get a fundamentally different society. All this new territory and its diverse populations force this version of America to tackle social issues in a totally new way. And in doing so, it avoids some of our history's absolute worst moments.
Take, for example, the treatment of Native Americans. With so much new land up north, there's way less pressure to remove the tribes from the southeast. So, instead of the horrific Trail of Tears, this timeline gets a Supreme Court ruling that sets up an assimilation policy. It grants citizenship and property rights to Native Americans who adopt American customs, which allows many tribes to actually keep their lands.
And the positive domino effect here is just huge. The Civil War does still happen, but it's way shorter and much less destructive. Federal troops stay in the South afterwards, so Jim Crow laws never get a chance to take root. Freed slaves are given huge land grants out west, giving them real economic freedom from the start. And because the country is so diverse from annexing Mexico and other places, racist policies like the Chinese Exclusion Act never even get passed, and hate groups like the KKK just fail to gain any real traction.
The result? You get this incredibly vibrant, multilingual society. A wild 65% of Americans in this timeline are multilingual. This chart here just shows you the breakdown. And yeah, the percentages add up to more than 100, because we're talking about people who speak multiple languages. As you can see, Spanish is the most common second language. It's a true cultural melting pot.
Okay, so you've got this huge, stable, super diverse nation. So what happens next? Well, it becomes an economic and political juggernaut, all built on those core founding principles of a small government and, crucially, staying out of other countries' wars.
And here's the kicker. This version of America actually sticks to its founding economic ideas. It stays strictly neutral, so when Europe has its Great War, America gets rich selling to everybody. It has a hands-off, laissez-faire approach. No income tax, no Federal Reserve, and guess what? No Great Depression. States compete with each other like crazy, driving innovation. And because of low regulation, industrial hubs like the Steel Belt never die out. Those jobs never get shipped overseas.
And the absolute crown jewel of this economic empire is the Nicaraguan Canal. It's built with American money and muscle in its new Central American territory. It becomes a vital artery for global trade, and that just solidifies America's place as the undisputed economic top dog on the planet.
So, here we are. We've basically built this near-perfect nation. It's dodged major wars, healed its social wounds before they could fester, and created an economy that's second to none. But the question we have to ask is, can something this perfect actually last?
Okay, let's just look at the numbers by the year 2000. We're talking a population of 600 million people, the largest economy the world has ever seen, a society with basically no major racial or religious discrimination to speak of. By every single metric, it is the most successful and powerful nation in all of human history.
But here's the catch. There's a potential side effect to all this unbelievable success. The source material points out that the people become exceedingly patriotic, almost to the point of being chauvinistic. They're described as being way more self-assured and brash. And it makes sense, right? They've never really known failure, never been humbled by a devastating war. They've always been on top.
And that really brings us to our final, critical question. What happens to a nation that has never really been tested, never been knocked down? Is this utopia a stable, lasting paradise? Or does all of that unchecked success create a national character that's so overconfident that it eventually, inevitably, plants the seeds of its own downfall? It's a pretty fascinating thought to leave you with.